did the organizational minutes and we got the additions for that, so we're comfortable with making that motion. Now we're on to the regular meeting of council. And Arlen made a motion to receive our,
we tabled it last.
approve.
We tabled it last,
and
then we'll bring it back.
Okay, so we have the motion from Arlen to approve these minutes. Still stands, Arlen? Okay. So, let's taking a look at those, and even the even numbered pages. Any alterations there?
Did we have a date? Were we putting a date on the beginning of the waste management? We didn't have a date on, did we?
Where are you looking?
450-18. When we made that, did we actually have a date on there of when they were starting? Page 3 of 6. 450-18. I guess it wasn't part of the.
Oh, I don't know if we actually had a date there. I know it was, the contract was supposed to end at the end of October, but Vernon gave an update. I'll let him update.
Well, we can wait till the CAO's report if you want.
There's no CAO report. Brian made an agreement with the former contractor to assist him in completing garbage removal for the month of November.
Okay.
And the month of December, this is, under my understanding, is when it's supposed to start.
So we'll get the green bin sometime in the next.
There was a load of green bins offloaded today. The next load is tomorrow, and then they will have they have people coming up to distribute them. And they're great. See 'em.
Green for life, great. Okay.
Okay, any other questions on the minutes? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. So now moving on to 5.3, special meeting of council on October 29th. Councillor Gilroy.
Okay, the council approved the minutes from the October 29th, 2018 special meeting of council as presented.
No, the only page we were missing was the signature page. So that's okay. All right, everybody all right with these? All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to the Recreation Board restructuring, page 34. Get a motion here. Councillor Courtley.
Council approved the proposed restructuring of the High Prairie District Regional Recreation Board with the creation of the Joint Recreation Committee.
All right. Any discussion on this one? Councillor Gilroy?
Looking at how we've been working on this for quite some time, reading this, maybe I missed something, but how does this change actually, like what is the full change that we're actually doing from what we previously had, other than moving the recreation board itself, the day-to-day operations of it, under the town? What is the real change being done with the management of it? And so, if Councillor Court, he's involved, can answer that.
Opportune time to eat my. The basic change is we've taken the recreation board and of course the obvious is we've structured it so that all the recreation is underneath the town. all the swimming pool, the arena, all recreation flows through the town. The town looks after all the facilities. It's all the employees are employees of the town. So the counselors that are on the board aren't looking after employees. Protectionary purpose of that was obvious with lots of issues in the past with personnel issues, but which we shouldn't be as counselors involved in. So from there, so the board is a society, right? The society in itself, we use that society to help fund a lot of our recreation facilities as far as upgrades, enhancements, ongoing in, like for example, upgrading the slide in the pool, the new Zamboni, the water tower, the cooling tower, was all funds and grants made available or made possible by our society, right? So as far as the society, the board is still there. The recreation board is a society. But out of that, we've created a joint recreation committee. So that committee will go forward assisting the recreation departments with programming. We're still going to be looking at the budgets, basically, how do you want to say it, advising, I guess, still being able to be involved in recreation and be able to bring that information back to our council still. So it'll still be a 50-50 split with the county and the town on the funding, which is a huge positive. And but what also with that is with that joint recreation, anything coming forward, because we're basically looking at a plan for our community as far as where to expand in our recreation, as far as upgrading like JC Park or splash parks or anything else that our community figures they would like to see improved. So we have the joint recreation committee to help nurture that along. We can use that group to help out with funding as far as fundraising, especially with the society. We'll be able to continue on with different fundraising and use the recreation board as a platform to expand or enhance our recreation in the community. Because years back, whenever there was an idea in the community as far as recreation, whether it was the second ice surface or whether it was the swimming pool or whether it was even the skateboard park, there's 30, 40, 50 different societies built in the last 20, 30 years probably. And in every essence, there's always a board of directors, there's volunteers, there's all kinds of people that they create these boards, and they go off and they make a piece of recreation, and then they say, here you go, hand it back to the town or the county to say, here you are, this is what we want to do, but now it's yours. Which I've been involved in, a lot of us have been involved in, but at least now we have with what we have created here, we have basically a vehicle that can help nurture those good ideas that come out of our community. Instead of having to always go and get another society, we have a basis in recreation that that both the town and the county are still involved in, that can utilize, we can bring public people in and carry forward with the new ideas. Now, I don't know if I've missed.
That's lots. What, did you have something specific you were wondering about, or like?
So when they meet, it looked as though it's going to be the appointed councillors from each. I'm assuming with the CAOs as well. And you had said, according to this, it says that that committee, or that recreation council, they would then work through both CAOs.
Mm-hmm. And the finance people.
Right. So the ones we already have on finance, on the finance committee, the committee you're talking about then passes that on to the committee that we've set up of councillors from both to then deal with that. Goes back there, then comes through the CAO here.
Yes.
Are you talking about the secondary budgeting committee?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get this straight in my head. How
So really, basically, it's still the board, but the board is like when they meet as far as the budgetary issues, as far as budgeting with it'll still come from say the pool budget or the arena budget. Will still come from the arena manager, the arena pool manager, that comes through the rec director, that comes through our CAOs, our CAO, that comes to the board, and the board meeting will be representatives from the town and the county, and the finance people and the CAOs. It's a full group. It's not just the four of us.
It sounded like a two-stage one originally, where you would approve of what the CAO has done, and then send it to the subcommittee.
It would be similar to what's happening with the museum and the library, where
Yeah.
the library and the museum boards approve their budgets. They develop the budgets, they send it to the finance review committee. Once they approve it, then it goes to council for final say. So that
There's still a secondary group that looks at the budget after
And it will
after
still
we advise on it.
and it will still be, if people have ideas, as you said, other councils or other committees that want to build things,
Yeah,
they submit directly to your committee, or do they do it through the CAO to get it to your committee?
The path of ideas, it can probably come through.
I'm just trying to get the hierarchy here in mind, because it is a little confusing for some people in the community that have asked me. And the order that we have so far, anything to do with the operation, day-to-day operation of it, goes manager of the local facility to the rec director to the CAO.
Correct.
Okay?
Done.
And so when people are hearing all these extra things, they're asking us, and I want to make sure that we give them the right
Yeah.
hierarchy of how things go. So that would be day to day, but anything future planning like splash park or
Yeah.
an addition to or renovation to the existing facility right there, the sports complex, that goes to this other committee. Is that right?
Yeah, it can start at the CAO. It can start at the rec director.
Okay, I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
if people
start either way.
We're
so
all
that people
on the same
understand
page here. So
the way we work through this.
it's just right now we have a society sitting there. So if we do come up with a project, we have a society that's good in standing, and somebody actually looking after it with a rec director that can take that society and then but canvas it larger, have people come in that want to help fundraise for the particular project, whether call it a splash park, call it whatever you want to call it. It's there for that, because you always have people when they're passionate about a certain program or project, they want to get involved and help. So that is there for them to help.
And for example, the people who said that they want the space, the spare space up in the sports complex to be turned into some sort of indoor play area for people, for all these people from another country, as opposed to going all the way to Slave Lake to watch their kids. That would directly go to the CAOs who then give it to you guys. Is that right?
Sure.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that this is a procedure because I'm being asked in the community, and I want to make sure that I give the right answers.
Okay. Any other discussion on this motion
It may have been,
on the restructuring?
kind of got lost in my words there, but I don't know if I didn't explain it properly, but.
I think you got an answer on where they can go.
Yeah, they can go, absolutely.
Okay.
I guess,
So-
can I just add, the main thing is that whoever sits on the board or the Joint Recreation Committee isn't dealing with employee issues. Right? Go ahead.
So the board and the joint committee, are they the same members?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
You bet. Appointed by council.
Vern?
I would just like to say that anything that in regards to recreation now that's under the town or public works or any part of the departments should always flow through the CAO. It shouldn't, an idea can be brought to a committee member, but they should take it to the CAO to get it registered and bring it on down the line to where it needs to go. So that's your answer to them.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on there to basically accept the restructuring. I forget how it was worded, or approve the proposed restructuring. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to Friendship Center, Councillor Stenhouse.
I'd like to make a motion that council give a financial donation in the amount of $100 to the High Prairie Friendship Center for their 37th
38. There's 38 here.
Oh,
Which is it, 38 or 37?
38.
38th anniversary banquet. Did you want me to start the conversation?
Sure, and then we
Okay.
got,
Okay, so my reasoning for that is we've donated to this every year. And we had one celebration for Dr. Loughlin in which we donated $200. Can this come out of FCSS funds?
This elders banquet, yes, it has been coming out of there. Because it's for seniors and for elders, I've been putting it under two different categories under the FCSS funding. I've been putting 250 under the seniors and 250 under the elders, different wording, different sections that it qualifies under. It's one of those rare things that even though there's not a preventative portion of it, it is still allowed because of the community part of it.
So we can all come out of FCSS if we do the 500 then?
The full 500, yes.
And we need to get rid of money.
Yeah, I'd like to change or amend. So I'd
go ahead.
like to make a new motion or amend it to 500 coming from the FCSS funds.
All right. And what I've heard is we still have FCSS dollars to give away, even though there's a few other ones, just like the party program, and maybe some money might fit in for the
Party was, no, why? Not FCSS.
wilderness
Got put back in?
group. Yeah, okay.
To cover those
What?
things? Okay.
Well, I thought party was taken out of FCSS.
No, party is.
Last year, I thought you told us it.
Verbally, we were told that, but I still filled out the report with it in FCSS, and it was not refused by head office. So even though the consultant person, whatever, that came around and talked to Brian and I, said that it should come out, I put it through in 2017 and it was accepted. So I figure, okay, I'm going to try it again
Give
for
it a
this
shot.
year.
Okay.
Okay, so any other questions on this one? We got a motion to support them in the terms of $500. All those in favor? Carried. Yeah, we have the grant application for the party program. Councillor Gilroy.
Even though my son is going to be attending this year, I'll still make the motion. The council approved the party program, the Prevent Alcohol and Risk-Related Trauma in Youth program application, completed for financial support / donation request and submitted for the amount of $2,500 and fund the grant from the FCSS account number 2517720000000 grants - local organization.
Okay, any discussions on this one? We've done it before, hopefully we'll get it through again. All those in favor? Carried. And moving on to 9.3, which is the release of lights for the aquatic center. Councillor Stenhouse?
The council received the request for funds in the amount of $21,750 to replace the existing lighting at the aquatic center for information.
Okay. So,
Okay, my reasoning for this is, so we're gonna spend $21,000, I did the math on this one, to get $4,767 back. Why can't we just replace the lights with LED lights as needed instead of jumping into this $21,000? I jumped on the bandwagon when these LED lights come out. Before the rebates come out, replaced all my light bulbs. I haven't saved 1 cent on the energy consumption. I'm just saying that why not replace them as they burn out? And pulling money out of reserves for lighting, I don't believe is a good idea. The reserve should be for unforeseen expenses that show up on other projects.
okay, Councillor Gilroy.
Just a question on the capital reserves. Does the rec board have any capital reserves, or are they the town's capital reserves that the money would be coming from?
That's a two-part answer. The town puts aside $50,000 a year for capital projects for the recreation, used to be the board. So there's $50,000 put aside every year. Secondly, when they have surplus monies at the end of the year from their operating budget, they put it into capital. So there's been two different pots of capital.
So, okay. But so where would this money be coming from? Would it be coming from the money we've already set aside that they've been building on over the years? Or where would it be coming from?
If the Recreation Society was still a separate entity, the money comes first from what they have left over from the previous year that went from operating into their capital reserves, and then they would requisition the county and the town for the rest of it. In this case, since all the money from the bank account was to be transferred into our bank account and from the board, and the board no longer has the money, it now is part of the town's reserve for the $50,000 that was put aside.
Councillor Stenhouse.
So do they have the money to cover this, or is it coming
Do we have?
from our reserve?
Are we keeping a separate account of their reserves? In other words, so we know it's coming from their part of the pot.
There was no money left from their reserves when they transferred everything over to us. But the $50,000 that we had put aside in our budget at the beginning of the year for capital, they've only used half of it. So there is money sitting there for that.
So the money, what I'm hearing is that there was $50,000 set aside for
$25,000
this
left.
year. There's $25,000 left.
And they're only
this
asking
money
for
could come
21.7.
from there. So it's now our money, and that all of the bank accounts have come to us, but this was money that, what I'm hearing is Recreation had plans for using for this project, and maybe Arlen can verify that or not,
And the county
is magic.
splits with the capital project,
Yeah.
50-50, right? So every year the county puts in 50,000, and the town puts in 50,000 every year.
To add to that, maybe that'll explain it a little bit better. The 50,000 for capital, we do not give it to the recreation department every year at the beginning of the year. We keep it ourselves. We don't give it to them as cash. We keep it until maybe 2-3 years, and then they'd have a big project of 112,000, and then they'll take the money out of there. We just automatically put 50,000 aside every year in our bank account, and so they've never received that 50,000. They requisitioned to spend some of it and spent up 20-some thousand just a few months ago, and now they're requisitioning for the rest of it. Like I said, there's two halves here. There's two different reserves, but the reserve that for the 50,000 was never given to them. It was still in our bank account, so we still have it.
I just want to ask a question first, and
Okay,
then
go ahead.
just looking at $43,000 just for lights in the pool, that just seems high.
Yeah.
Where did that number come from? Does anybody know? Because I'm just looking.
It was put out to bid. It was put out to bid to 3 different contractors with all the lighting in both the arena and the aquatic center. It's been looked at, right? So because the amount of efficiency, energy efficiency, we figured over the course of 10 years would more than pay for it.
Okay, because yeah,
Plus
like
the grants, but there was supposed to be more grant than this. But I'm surprised that we got this much rebate, so that's good.
but
It's 3
so
locations.
this is just the pool though, or
No,
this isn't
it's
the
3 locations, it says up here.
43,000?
No, it's for the aquatic center only. It's 21.7 to replace the existing lighting at the aquatic center only. It doesn't say the arena. That's a lot of money to get
It is.
$5,000.
It is because there's 142 4-foot LED replacement lamps.
Well, and I looked in the pool.
It's all 3.
I looked in the pool, and
It's-
like in the pool common area,
Yeah.
there is 10 of those old,
Yeah, that hum like they're
those
loud
big
and hum.
lights, and
Yeah,
then
that's-
there's about 15 of
Yep.
some LED lights in
Yep.
there, 12 actually, 12. So they got 22 lights. in
This
that
is all the
whole-
fixtures for the 2 arenas and the pool.
Oh, okay, because that would make more
Okay,
sense.
that's not what it says here though.
I know that's not what it says. I'm looking at the quantity of fixtures.
If it's for all 3, okay, that's a totally different story, but I'm reading this as for the aquatic.
I'm not
We
100%
put in
sure.
for all 3.
Well, I'm not 100% sure. The little bit that I got from Lori before she went on vacation was that they applied for a grant for all 3, but they still hadn't received a response. Because she wanted to get the aquatic center ones done during the shutdown, she pushed them to at least approve the set portion that was for the aquatic center.
Yeah.
So we may still get money for the other 2, but the aquatic center portion was the portion she was concerned about that wanted to have approval so it could be done during their shutdown.
And that's the 21.7.
That I don't know.
Or 43,000 altogether. To do
That
it.
I don't know.
But still,
That's a lot.
that's a lot of money, yeah. That's only 50%, right? In total, just for the aquatic center is 43.5.
Well, actually, it's more than that if you get the rebate in there.
That part I can't answer. Lori would have to tell you.
It's only
Right.
9,000, we gotta split it with the county, so we only get back 4,700. That's a lot of money.
The question you're asking is whether that 40-some thousand is for all 3 buildings or just the aquatic center. And again, like I said, that part I don't know. Lori would have been the one to know, and she would probably have discussed it with Brian, but she didn't discuss it with me. I didn't see this RFD until after she was gone on vacation.
And the pool shutdown's the 20th of the month. So we need to do something about it now.
Yeah, it is a little time sensitive for the pool shutdown. Is the plan, Arlen, do you know, well, actually, I read in here that they wanted to do this, but will they be able to get the lights and the contractors and everything
Yeah,
here
I
in
think,
time for that?
I think the contractor's been selected, and I'm pretty sure that all of the fixtures are available. From what I can remember, like all the fixtures, I'm sure that they have them.
So would this be close to the price we'd be looking for the arena also, another 43,000 just for the arena?
Or more?
Well, we're not sure if this is all three facilities or if it's one, right? Like, we don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, but if we vote on this and pass it, we're passing that, yeah, we're accepting 43 just for the aquatic center.
That's right.
So we need to know what we're voting on.
Yeah, it does say for the aquatic center. I just can't see it being that much, because I looked, like I said, I looked in there and it wasn't, they had 22 lights that needed to be in the main pool area, and then you got your hallways and offices and, you know, stuff. But
Change
that's,
rooms and all that, everything's being changed over there.
yeah, but that's still not
I know, I can't justify that.
$43,000 for that one
Lighting?
building. I don't think so.
No, it's for the total project. It's for both facilities.
Is there any way of verifying that? No.
I don't know.
Because there's confusion right now among everybody.
You can pass this contingent upon being for both facilities. You can put a contingency on it.
Or even just make it for just the aquatic center, whatever the amount is for that. But-
it says it's 43,000 just for the aquatic center.
Like Vern said, you could always make a contingency part of it, the motion.
Up to. But then, that doesn't really change
No.
anything anyway.
It doesn't change anything. We're gonna spend 43,000 to get 5,000 back.
Does anybody know what the county, have they looked at this already?
They'll probably look at it tomorrow.
We'll probably look at it tomorrow, okay. I can, I might be able to find out from the county or their CAO if he knows more about this particular item too. If we, again, we're just needing more information, right?
Text Jordan.
What I would
Yeah.
do is just pass it with the contingencies that it's for both facilities, and then that limits what they can do if it does, and pending the county approving it as well. So if you do that, then their hands are tied. If it's not for both facilities, we won't release the money.
Okay, well, I would live with that.
So we'd have to defeat the motion right now and then introduce
Well,
the next
the other
motion.
option is to redo the motion, or do we want to vote on that motion? It's up to Councillor Stenhouse, what you'd
No,
like
I'm
to do.
sticking with it.
Okay, so the motion is to receive for information. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is defeated. Does anybody want to make a new motion? Councillor Gilroy.
Vern, walk us through it. Walk her through it.
Well, I can't make motions, but
No, but-
you start the motion and
Okay.
I'll help you out.
Make the motion, let me just get back to the first page again here. The town of High Prairie released from capital reserves the amount of $21,750 to replace the existing lighting at the aquatic and
Yeah.
at the aquatic and the, actually, why don't you say all three of them? At the High Prairie Regional Aquatic Center, the Sports Palace or Arena, and the Gordon Buchanan Recreation Center, since those are the three you bid on. Contingent on, how does it, help me, Vern?
Release the amount of $21,750 from the reserve, contingent upon all three facilities receiving new lighting for that amount, as well as contingent upon
the
the
approval
approval
by the
from Big
county,
Lakes,
Big
our
Lakes
county
County.
Big Lakes.
Okay, sounds good.
All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to the treasurer's report on page 46. Can I get a motion? I'll make the motion that we receive the treasurer's report for information. Anything to highlight for us, Terry?
Nope, most of it was a fairly standard month, so the only thing that was additional was all the stuff that was happening with the recreation, because that was the month of the transfer.
Okay, any questions for our treasurer? Councillor Gilroy?
Noticing that we had our auditors in last week before. How'd that go?
The auditors were in, and they were supposed to be here for 4 days. They were only here for 3. They said that things went much more smoothly than they have in the previous 2 years, so they were quite pleased. This is what they call their interim audit. So they come here and they do sampling. They do check out our processes to make sure that we're doing things the right way. Delegation of duties, stuff like that. And like I said, they were pleased. So they left a day early, so I was quite happy.
They also got a free meal out of it too.
Okay, any other questions? I had one about the ARB complaint, and can you give me more on that? I'm just curious.
I'd have to speak to my tax clerk to get all the details. She's been dealing with an ARB complaint that we had here, and we also had one that we were doing for the town of Falher. And so the one that she went out there, she was doing, we split the costs of what it cost for her mileage and for her time and everything. And I believe it was withdrawn or at the last minute or something. I can't remember all the details. I'd have to find out.
So we had ours, we had one also, and that's been dealt with? And what happened with that one?
It was withdrawn.
It was withdrawn. Okay, and then they also worked on one for Falher?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Gilroy?
Knowing that we have thousands of acronyms come at us, can we just get the acronym ARB and maybe the TAP again? Those two acronyms.
The ARB is the Assessment Review Board,
Okay.
and that's when somebody has a complaint for their assessment. And so if it's an LARB, it means it's a local one type of thing. A CARB is a composite, which means it's for apartment buildings, for commercial, for industrial. Okay. And the makeup of the ARB boards is slight difference depending whether it's a LARB or a CARB. In regards to the TAPP, the TAP, that is for taxes arrears payment program. And so for people that are 2 or 3 years in arrears, we will be taking their property in March. We don't want to do that, so we try to contact them and try to get them to start making payments, and we work out a deal. In the new manual we have for the Act, the MGA, I think it's called the MGA now. I always forget the new acronym. It's the same as it was before. We are allowed to give up to a maximum of 3 years for them to get caught up, but they cannot miss a payment. The town of High Prairie many years ago made their maximum 24 months instead of 36 months, which they do have that choice. And so we try to get all these people caught up within the 2 years. If they miss a payment, then it's due in full immediately. If they can at least stay on the TAP program for a minimum of a year, usually they're not as far behind, and then we aren't going to take their property. They can still continue to make payments, but they'll be behind, but they're no longer going to lose their property. But people that are behind, we don't want any more property. So we work very hard with them to see what we can work out.
Just while you're mentioning that, how was the 2 properties that we did take over? We're still in possession of them, or is it?
We're still in possession of them. Council has not given us any direction as to whether they want us to continue with a renewal of with the realtors, and the realtors haven't come to us to get new signature, so I'm not sure what's happening there. They never did so. We had no interest, nothing.
Perhaps, Vernon, can I get you to add that to the list for the next council meeting too? So we should
That would be good.
add that to our list for the next one, so we can deal with that.
Is there a what kind of length of a list are you dealing with for TAP? Yeah, we're not asking for names or numbers. We're
No.
just saying 6, 10, 1, 2, 3.
I usually do, I'd say 1 or 2 calculations per month, and not everybody, once we do the calculation, will sign up. Some of them will decide to go get a bank loan and pay it off in full, which we don't mind at all. We prefer. So I'd say there's about 10 or 15 per year. And then we have this, right now we had, I think it was almost 20 properties that were going to be into the arrears to the point of us taking possession in March. And so we've been working very hard to get these people to make payments.
Okay, any other questions? No? All right, all those in favor of receiving for information? Carried. And moving on to the Wilderness Camp request for funding. Councillor Gilroy?
That council approve the High Prairie Wilderness Camp Program application completed for financial support donation request and submitted for the amount of $500 and fund this from FCSS and or council donations.
All right, now I read that you thought part of it would qualify.
Because this is they haven't got a specific session during their week-long camp, and it's only kind of integrated into their current activities, I think that we can get away with using $500 from FCSS funds, not a problem. Next year, once they have an actual program in place, then we can increase it to whatever amount council decides, $1,500 or whatever. So this year, I think we can feel very comfortable with $500 through the FCSS. If council wishes to give them more, they can do so through their council donations.
Okay. Well, and we want to use up all of the FCSS dollars that we can. That's a given. And I think our council stuff was pretty well tapped out too, if I remember. There wasn't too much left, was there?
I think there's quite a bit left in your council donations right now.
Oh, okay. Councillor Stenhouse? Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but do you know how many people attend this camp? No, I read through it and there's no stats there that says how many people actually go through this camp.
No, but I can find out, no problem, because I'm in contact with the gentleman because he wanted some other information about a similar camp down in southern Alberta, and they were going to exchange programs, so I can definitely ask him.
Okay. Councillor Gilroy?
Having represented the town at their fundraiser a couple weeks ago, they have shown that in the last couple of years they have actually tripled in numbers.
What's the number?
Numbers, I think the maximum's I think around 60 plus because they're only open a couple of weeks, but it's a lot of trail horse riding and stuff like that. And most of this fundraising actually, if you look at what the financials they've got in here, all their summer help is volunteer. It goes into actually buying the tents and getting all the programming as opposed to paying salaries. So that's what they were saying at the fundraiser a couple of Saturdays ago.
So I compared this to, it's called Teen Time out of Westlock, and they do all their fundraising through private donations and volunteer.
And they have done that at the fundraiser, and you can check South Peace News. I believe if you asked our editor there, Chris, what was it about, I think it was around $30,000 was raised at their fundraiser out of their budget of 50.
The number between 60 and 70 is correct.
Those are expensive pies.
Actually, it was quilts this year.
Oh, it was quilts. That went
Yes,
well.
it was quilts, and you could have had a motorcycle had you come. Went rather cheaply, motorcycle. But they had over 300 people squished into triangle. The comment was, good thing the fire department didn't come by. Because it went from 60 pre-sold tickets to over 300 altogether. It was very full.
Good. All right, so we have a motion to donate them $500. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on then to our next agenda item, which is our CAO's actions. Yeah. Over to Vern. Oh, we need a motion first. We need a motion.
Okay, I'll make it. The council receive the acting CAO's action list for information and report.
All right.
First off, Brian got a moose.
Oh,
A very nice one.
With his car?
No,
With a weapon?
him and David had put it on Facebook. Nice moose, looks good. Anyway, some of the things that probably questions are is 56th Avenue paving. Obviously, it's done for this year. We won't be releasing any more money to the contractor. In discussions with MPE to see exactly what process we can follow from here on in. Construction is basically complete other than the roads resurfacing. There was an issue with the depth of our gas line there, which held up things a little bit, and the snow caught them before we could rectify that.
just a question. So they're going to get after that in the spring? Is
First
that
thing in the spring, we're
first?
first on their list to get completed.
Okay, and what about the, like I learned a little bit at AUMA about paving and temperatures and
Yep.
the paving that they did on, 52nd Avenue?
Yep.
Was, I'm going to say, below optimum temperatures for
I
paving.
wasn't here when that was done, so I don't know exactly what the temperature was. But anything above 1 degree to 2 degrees is fine. It will keep. We've done it before in the past. I don't know exactly what the temperature was.
So what happens if that road,
It's still under warranty.
so if it,
So if it starts to fail, they will have to come in, mill it all out, and redo it.
okay, so how long's the warranty
It's a
on it?
2-year surface warranty on it,
2-year
and you'll
service.
know within 2 years if that's going to fail.
Okay, that was one of my questions. Okay, sorry.
And I'll open it up to any other questions that are out there. That was probably the biggest one that I needed to let you know about. Yeah. Yeah, the one that's it's opened up to traffic now. We are going to install some bump signs right at both intersections because it is rough. It's been milled, and it's use at your own risk, really, but it is opened up.
Okay,
Have you had any response to your 10-year capital plan that we've been advertising?
I have not gotten any response to.
Okay.
We are going to start the process of going forward with some of the stuff that was approved in the capital plan, just doing the preliminary engineering.
Councillor Stenhouse.
Mine's a comment, not a question. I know that a lot of the walkers are very pleased with the trails being plowed. You guys did a fantastic job.
Thank you. I'll pass it on to the people.
The rest of the staff, the walkers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those trails look really nice and a lot of people are happy.
I have had some comments on it also, so that is good. Couple of questions I had is, we did the broadband meeting, there was talk that we had to have a decision on the pilot project and where we were going to run it, and if we didn't make that decision very quickly, then that might hold back the start date, as that was the meeting that we had last week here. So I'm just wondering where that's at, or is there
I know that we submitted templates for our gas system to the engineering firm and the crossing agreement to them. That's the extent of what I know as far as the broadband goes.
Do you know anything more on where that decision was? Because we had that, Brian had some preliminary drawings and some preliminary costs, and we thought it was going to come back, but it's been a couple of meetings now, and it still hasn't come back, and now they're worried about getting this information, like getting our approval on where we want it to go, and the price tag, so that they can start planning on it specifically, and we're holding them up.
They must have found something, or Brian must have sent something back to him, otherwise he wouldn't be asking us for crossing agreements with the gas lines. That's my interpretation of it. So I can't answer that question, but I know they did contact us in regards to crossing agreements for the gas lines.
Can you put that on Brian's list for next meeting too? We got to make sure that we hadn't made a decision on exactly what we were going to do. There was some discussion about options, but he was getting the final prices, and then we were going to make a decision on that. So we need to, that was just one thing I wasn't sure. The other question that I had was, I think it was it last meeting or the meeting before, we were talking about getting a letter from transportation. No, it would have been last meeting, or the special meeting of council. So we got just needing a letter from transportation about the intersection upgrade. Have we sent them a letter or gotten anything back from them on that? Do you know?
I can't answer that question either.
Okay. Write her down.
Yep. And that you're referring to one intersection upgrade at
the campground. Yeah.
It was MPE's request.
It was because, yes, they
It was their
were
request,
looking.
not our request.
They wanted to put in that grant, and we were saying, was this needed? And they were going to try to get information from transportation on whether they were going to build it, because that's what they told us at AUMA, that they were going to take care of the
October
construction
31st
of it.
deadline for the grant.
That's right. Yeah. So that was what I wanted to ask about that, for sure. Okay. Those were my questions, Councillor Stenley. Okay. Any other ones? No? All right, we have a motion to receive for information. All those in favor? Carried. All right, moving into our verbal and written reports. Councillor Danaka is not here, but she had submitted her report for us, which is great. Councillor Gilroy.
Our verbal, just a number of meetings, one being, I'll try to do this in order, MPC meeting, which was good because it's always nice when we're trying to approve new businesses, and so that was good. And the broadband meeting, which you've alluded to. The community health and wellness meeting was very interesting. One of the doctors that, I'll just put it the easiest way. To get a new doctor here from out of the country, there are a number of steps. I've said this before, but it's more relevant now because the first step is that you offer them a contract. When they get that contract in hand, then they go to immigration. One of the doctors we toured around a year and a half, 2 years ago now, finally got his immigration papers after all this time. Now, once they get that, then they come and they approach the College of Physicians and Surgeons to get a preceptor, someone who's going to look after them while they're here to make sure, sort of like a supervisor. They're very hard to get. Apparently there are more applications than they have preceptors. So that's the next step for this one. Another one that that AHS has already offered a contract to is still awaiting immigration. So that's where a couple of them right now are. The Dr. Gill is getting his final, even though he's been in Edmonton and here, he still had to go through a final one with the college, and we have been assured that he will be approved, so he will be here, period. So that's good. There is still a hold on our surgical area because of some management issues within our local hospital. Meaning that we have the doctors, we have the trained nurses, we have the anesthesiologists, stuff like that, but there's a lack of management that is available to look at the day-to-day stuff. Right now they have temporary people who have multiple responsibilities, not personalities yet, but responsibilities. And so, for example, we do know that our site manager is off on leave. Our site manager is also the person in charge of acute care. That's two positions that need to be, you need a day-to-day person to do, so they cannot start till they get that. And the one above our site manager, the person who is filling in temporarily in that position, has got a range from Wabasca to McLennan, Slave Lake, here, whole bunch of stuff. Plus trying to fill in a little bit for the site manager and that. So a huge area. They cannot do it. So right now, we're sort of in limbo until we find out what's happening with the medical leave of our site manager, and they're trying to fill those other positions. And in the meantime, to keep up on the keep in practice, we'll call it, they're finding ways to have our doctors serve in other hospitals periodically, as well as looking at ways to get our nurses who are trained in there to keep their skills sharp by working with other hospitals until they get that done. So that's the report there. As I said, went to the Highbury Wilderness Camp. We already reported on that one. And the Remembrance Day one, I think Brian did our mayor did a great job at the Remembrance Day. There was a ton of people there. And the final one was, I was a guest of the Aboriginal Interagency today. Two things were very interesting. One, the county appointed a councillor to be on their committee. And two, they have been gracious enough that if myself or another one goes, during certain times we can put some input in unofficially. So we were able to encourage them to consider the benefits of broadband. And they were open to a lot of these things, as well as encouraging greater connection with the town when it comes to different events. So I move my verbal report for information.
Any questions for him? Seeing none. It was just having your verbal report. What was our timelines on that? Oh, I get.
If you didn't want the medical stuff, I could have just switched that off.
That was funny. There was at the Remembrance Day one of the pastors went about 10 minutes, and it was supposed to be 3 minutes. So
we'll not get into that.
But anyway, that was pretty funny. So I was just thinking about you when you were giving your report to keep her down. Okay, no questions. He's moved his report for information. All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Long's not here. Over to me. I sent out my report by email today. I don't know, did you guys get a chance to look at it? Okay, really quickly, I'll just give you the rundown. On the 24th, we did the radio interview. Yeah, now we get timed, yeah. Meeting with Heart River Housing Consultants to work on the needs assessment for our region. We had the broadband governance meeting, just a meeting by the phone to get the ball started. And then we had another progress and governance meeting that was actually here on November 7th, so last week. I guess the other thing was the Remembrance Day ceremony that he had mentioned too, that I've been attending. Just the broadband, we talked about needing that update. That is needing that decision on where we want the pilot to go. And everything else seems to be, there's a whole bunch of questions around what should the governance of the body that's gonna look after this look like. So that's still being discussed, and they took some feedback from both councils that were here and that were able to make it. Took that feedback, and they're gonna come back with some suggestions for us. Just wanted to remind people here to do your CAO evaluations. Do them right away, because I know there was, not everybody had done them. So please do those. We need to do our evaluations with Brian next meeting, or have a special meeting to do that in the next little while. And this weekend is they will do the presentation to Tolko. Arlen, Deputy Mayor, was going to be at that this Saturday, where you've got the presentation to Tolko. So I had a question for Vern. Is the sign, is there two signs or just one sign? There's the sign on my desk in the office.
There's one on the shop wall.
Oh, okay, so the one that's in there I can give away? Okay, because that's,
We only need one at the entrance to the.
yeah, this is on Saturday is the presentation
Yeah,
to
it
Tolko.
would have been put there for your use.
Okay.
I know there's one at the shop.
Okay, I just didn't want to give it away if we needed it, and that's coming up really quickly here. Okay, any questions?
Where's your presentation gonna take place?
It's there. Tolko is having a dinner for their staff, a sort of an appreciation dinner, on Saturday at the Elks Hall. So it's going to be there. Yeah. All right. No other questions? All those in favor? Carried. I don't like the look in Harlan's eyes. All right. Okay, Councillor Courtley.
No report.
No report, okay. Councillor Rose is not here, and Councillor Stenhouse.
So I don't have much to report other than I attended with Councillor Courtley the fire department budget review. We went to that. And I attended partial the broadband, and I want to say I've been to a couple of the broadband ones, but the one the other day was really good. That, I don't know if it just made sense, but it finally come together on the broadband was the other day.
Well, and Jennifer's really good. She's not as techy
Yeah.
as,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was, the way she presented it, it made sense. So, and that's it. I moved my verbal report for information.
Okay, any questions for her? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. We'll take a break and then we'll move in camera, and then we're done.
Really? Because I did it. Just burden enough.
Why?
Because they caught me